Since I live outside the city, I really need to take the Golden Gate Bridge every single day. The bridges generally are the most congested points of the city. Like the entrances are just, really hard to circulate. Normally it takes me around 20 to 25 minutes to get to school, which is actually a lot quicker than it takes a lot of people out who actually live in San Francisco. After the bridge, there's some big routes that I can take, like Lombard and Gough Street, which, actually get congested a whole lot. But if you're clever, you don't really ever need to take those streets. You can take some side streets, and those get you there, from point A, or from where I live in Sausalito, to point B in the city, a lot quicker than if you take the congested main streets. So even though there are some pretty big congested streets in San Francisco, you can pretty much just get around them pretty easily.
The noise levels in San Francisco reflect almost perfectly the traffic flow and congestion. The heavier the congestion, the noisier the street will be. As you can see, the noise levels near the Golden Gate Bridge, square on top left, and the Bay Bridge, square on top right, are the loudest parts of the city alongside the highways, which is a bottom square, because that is where there is the most density of cars. Moreover, areas with less noise represent areas with less cars. Seeing that there are more areas with less noise in San Francisco, one may say that congestion is not an omnipresent issue in the city, but is a problem in specific areas.
The average San Francisco-Oakland area commuter by car wasted 61 hours over a year getting to work. Furthermore, for most part, driving with fees from gas, bridge tolls, and parking is far more expensive than public transportation. On the other hand, driving a car or any other vehicle is much faster, taking 2 to 4 times less time to get to one destination in the city. So, depending on the person, having a car is better if you need to get somewhere fast, but don't mind the fees so much. This affects congestion in San Francisco because a lot of people decide to drive over taking public transportation because either they live outside the city and need to get to work, or they find the public transportation to be a hassle.
So the amount of available parking space in San Francisco very much affects the surface area that is available on the street to drive on. San Francisco is actually the first city in America to actually count the amount of parking spots that it had available, which is roughly 320,000 parking spots. If you were to count the total amount of surface area that takes up, it's roughly the amount of Golden Gate Park. If you add that up with the amount of vehicles that are actually in San Francisco on a daily basis, which is around 505,000 vehicles, you can see that the amount of vehicles in San Francisco vastly outweighs the amount of parking spots, which, adds up for some pretty crazy congestion in San Francisco.
Okay, so right now we're going through San Francisco's downtown. This is actually one of the most, I would say, congested areas of the city, besides the entries of the bridges and the highway entries. As you can see outside, there's actually much more traffic than there was like 5 minutes ago when we were up in more residential districts. In some cases, the public transit system in San Francisco can be extremely slow, or even not work at all. Some buses are notoriously bad at times. For instance, the Golden Gate Transit is often around 30 minutes late for its stops, and in the afternoon, the bus might not even come at all. Furthermore, in the past year, the BART strikes have put so many people coming back from Oakland into San Francisco into a huge pickle. When the workers at BART striked, the whole transportation system stopped working altogether for days at a time, leaving thousands of people incapable of coming to work altogether. In all, the strike last summer made an impact of $73 million on the San Francisco economy. Luckily, I live in the city, but even then, the amount of people lining up to try to catch a ferry in order to get out of San Francisco into Oakland or Sausalito affected the time it took me to get home.
Even though the San Francisco-Oakland area ranks high in traffic jams, it's also near the top in efforts to fix the problem. It's number 3 in the systems intended to improve traffic flows, including synchronized traffic signals on some major roads, freeway ramp metering, and carpool lanes. These road systems save the area commuters a total of 18,956 hours and about $400 million a year. Also, as said earlier, one can see the buses, streetcars, trains, and ferries save commuters 36,000 hours and $776 million a year. By trying to invest a $10.1 billion budget over the next 15 years in public transportation, the city tries to solve this congestion issue.
Despite its dense population, San Francisco has a very clean atmosphere. Because its congestion problem is unimportant, it doesn't have that much pollution being sent into the atmosphere, compared to other important cities of its size. This can be seen with the number of particle matter pollution sent into the atmosphere in San Francisco. All of the areas with high particle matter pollution are the Central Business District, square on the right, and the highway entrances, top left square and bottom square. It is currently number 24 on the list for worst short-term polluted atmospheres, but recently, because of its plans for becoming more green, its electric buses and subways and high number of hybrid, more economically friendly vehicles, San Francisco has dropped off the list of the top 25 cities with the worst smog pollution.
All things considered, San Francisco, being an important, highly dense American city, has a fairly good transportation system. There are many different types of public transportation that serve the people of San Francisco quite well. Public transportation is an affordable, easy way to get around San Francisco if the buses are on time and BART workers don't go on strike, that is. Driving a car, on the other hand, is faster than taking public transportation. Although there are a few places in San Francisco that get congested easily, there is almost always an alternate route that is less congested that one could take on their way to get to their destination. Obviously, a car is much more expensive to maintain, own, and use to get around town than just using public transportation, but if your fast circulation is what is really important, then a car is the way to go. It all depends on the individual in the end.